នៅលើពិភពលោកដ៏ធំល្វឹងល្វើយមួយនេះតើមានមនុស្សប៉ុន្មានអ្នកដែលខ្វល់ខ្វាយពីជីវិតអ្នកដទៃជាងខ្លួននោះប្រសិនបើរឿងនេះមិនបានកើតនៅក្នុងប្រទេសកម្ពុជាហើយបើសិនជាយើងខ្ញុំមិនបានទៅផ្ទាល់នោះប្រហែលយើងខ្ញុំមិនជឿទេថាពិតជាមានមនុស្សហ៊ានលះបង់អ្វីៗគ្រប់យ៉ាងរបស់ខ្លួនដើម្បីអ្នកដទៃទោះមិនមែនជាតិសាសន៍របស់ខ្លួនក៏ដោយប្រជាពលរដ្ឋខ្មែរស្ទើរគ្រប់រូបបានស្គាល់មន្ទីរពេទ្យគន្ធបុប្ផាដោយសារតែមន្ទីរពេទ្យនេះមានគុណភាពខ្ពស់ក្នុងការព្យាបាលនិងព្យាបាលដោយឥតគិតថ្លៃនោះដោយសារតែការដឹកនាំដ៏រឹងមាំរបស់លោកវិជ្ជបណ្ឌិត Big Richner
Why we do not understand our activity here as act of charity or as act of humanitarian aid or assistance, but as act of obligation, as act of justice. The war was brought by the Western world, and with the war, the still ongoing killer number one, the tuberculosis. It comes down to money and to politics, because tuberculosis is the cheapest weapon of mass destruction. It's interesting, we can find much more tuberculoma than expected. Still tuberculoma not yet doing symptoms. So even the brain is destroyed by the tuberculosis of these children. But we can save them.
Throughout the world, international health experts continue to focus their attention on fighting TB in adult patients. It is argued that adults are more likely to spread the disease than children because young infants cannot produce sputum, supposedly making them less contagious to others. The sputum test is the most common way of testing for TB in adults, but as young children cannot cough up enough sputum for analysis, its diagnosis is far more difficult. In many cases, the tuberculosis is only visible through detection of its primary complex, which presents itself as a calcification of the hilar lymph node. The big problem is that this primary complex is often not visible in X-rays, especially if it is smaller than 3 millimeters in size.
And she told us in the laboratory, these facilities are too expensive for poor countries such as Cambodia. It's wrong to install it. First, Cambodian must learn to wash the hand, to learn the hygiene, and then you can go on. This attitude, this arrogance is nothing else than neocolonialism and has to be changed. You need the modern facilities, the same standard as you use in Europe. Otherwise, you miss a diagnosis and they tell you these facilities are too expensive for poor countries such as Cambodia.
The association with AIDS, the multi-drug resistance, but I think this plan takes on those tough problems and can make a big difference.
90% of all tuberculoma children with brain tumors by tuberculoma were vaccinated against tuberculosis by the vaccination BCG. So, what we know up to now, that the BCG vaccination is useless. This is known in the United States since 1942, in Switzerland since 1970, in France since 1 year, and in WHO not yet. So the vaccination BCG is useless. But what is new, and we can prove this in a significant way, it's significant. Children who were vaccinated have a much more severe disease of tuberculosis than children who were not vaccinated. Stop. It's the same as for a musician or an artist. If he's no more nervous before a concert, maybe he should stop. If a doctor is no more nervous before he starts an anesthesia, or before he starts his visit or sees his patient, then he must stop. You must be perfect.
Fundraising remains the biggest burden Dr. Beard is continually faced with. The pressure increases every year to raise the $20 million needed to keep the 4 Canter-Bopa hospitals running. With no World Health Organization to rely on, or a wealthy benefactor like Bill Gates, it all comes down to one man and his cello. The hospital's very existence is fragile, given that it can only ever cover operating costs 5 months in advance. The deep and growing concern now is, what will happen to the hospitals when Dr. Beard is no longer there?
I'm a prisoner, and I'm imprisoned by my conscience and by my to be perfect in this hospital. I'm imprisoned here. Today is the last day in the year I talk about the money. I'm very sorry. And when I was young, I was idealist and entertainer. And now I'm annoying people and myself. I'm annoyed talking about money. I was idealist, and I get to be older and I get to be materialist. Because without this money, 60,000 children will die per year in Cambodia. And that's why I made a song about our bank account in a foreign language. I am the doctor, PC 860699.1. We still need money just your money. I am the Dr. PC86. Do you remember this very number? I am the Dr. PC860699.1. You still need money. Just your money. Why poor children should not have the right of getting drugs and care, being good enough to save the children living in a richer world. Why? Do you remember? We really wonder why poor children should not have the right of getting drugs and care, being good enough to save the children living in a richer world. Why? Do you remember? We really wonder. I am the Dr. PC860699.1. You will remember. We don't surrender.
There is one man on the planet the Swiss pediatrician would most like to meet. Bill Gates shares Dr. Biat's view that there is no bigger test for humanity than the crisis of global health.
The Global Fund is one of the best and kindest things people have ever done for one another. It is a fantastic vehicle for scaling up the treatment and preventative tools we have today to make sure they reach the people who need them.
Dr. Biat would like the opportunity to meet the influential billionaire, to convince him that while the world waits for effective vaccines to be invented, curative medicine for the poor should not be seen as a luxury the world cannot afford.
So I'm convinced that people like Bill Gates, who look for a vision how you could do it in a better way, because he realizes too that it's inefficient. Geneva is inefficient, and he would be fascinated, and he would help. And as soon he gives us maybe 200 million for the next 10 years, then we could do the same. I'm convinced we could do the same system in Laos or in Burma or in the Congo, in Africa. It's feasible, it's possible.
And 80% of the money we spend are private donations. And with this